Getting recommendations from your friends for that perfect diet might be a big waste of time. The real answer is already within you, your genes. What are the best foods based on your DNA? What foods have the nutrients that you need? How quickly do you metabolize caffeine and alcohol? Don't guess. Use the code Speak for Yourself for $20 off a GenoPalette DNA kit. Find out how to eat for your genes.
Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason McIntyre here with my main man, LeVar Arrington, and also the great Rick Bucher. Marcellus Wiley and Emmanuel Acho are off today. We're going to keep it rolling, starting with the huge news in the NBA. Russell Westbrook is coming out here to L.A. Reports say the Lakers agreed on a blockbuster deal with the Wizards for the former MVP. Lakers are giving up Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, a draft pick. That's all going to Washington. The LA Times reports Russ and Anthony Davis had dinner at LeBron's house a couple weeks ago. I was not invited. And they talked about putting all their egos aside to play together. Rick Bucher, is Russell Westbrook a good fit, a great fit for the Lakers?
Neither one of those. So what's the third option there? No, it's not a great fit. And everybody has talked about it. Having two ball-dominant guys, having somebody in Russell Westbrook who's a 30% career three-point shooter, not able to space the floor for LeBron. LeBron being an up-and-down three-point shooter himself. Obviously, Anthony Davis not being really accomplished in that area. But I'm going to put all of that aside because anybody who can look at a box score or a stat sheet can tell you that. This is where this deal really hurts the Lakers. And it's not what's coming in as much as what's going out. And yes, I know, J-Mac, the other day you said that they don't really lose anything. I believe you said they don't really lose anything in terms of what's going out. But the Lakers hung their hat on being the best defensive team in the league last year. And going out as of right now is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. Now, those three were part of that defense. Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell were also part of the third highest scoring bench brigade in the league. That was the Lakers. Montrez and Kuz accounting for 25 points combined. And if, as anticipated, Dennis Schroeder goes out the door as well, you're now looking at KCP and Dennis Schroeder, two of the three Lakers who received all defense team votes this past year, no longer being there. That's ultimately where they're going to be hurt the most. Oh, and by the way, the oldest team in the league just got older because if we count Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and Montrezl Harrell, you're now sending out the guys who played, the top four guys who played the most minutes for this team this past season. All of those things don't necessarily have to do with offense and the chemistry and all that. I'll wait for that on the second round. But just on the face of it, you've made a team that couldn't get through the year without injury. You've made it even more fragile and more susceptible to injury.
Jeez, I mean, talk about living in a safe zone.
Hater in the house.
Golly. Let's talk about 11.7 assists for the year this year with Russell Westbrook. Sounds like facilitating and getting the ball around to me. Let's talk about 22 points on average this year for Russell Westbrook. Let's talk about 11 rebounds, 11.5 rebounds. That's three statistical categories I just gave you double digits in, which means what, J-Mac? Triple-double man.
Again.
Yeah, that should be Russell Westbrook's superhero name, triple-double man. You're telling me with all that production, you're going to use as an argument Obi, Rick, one Kenobi, that he is too old, this team is too old? Who's worried about their ages right now? They're worried about winning. And you know what they're looking at? Let me tell you what LeBron was looking at when he said, let's bring in Russ. KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Who can we add to this team that could stand up in the face of a juggernaut that's going to come out with swinging arms this upcoming season. Oh, wait, didn't Russell Westbrook play with a few of them dudes? Oh, yeah, that's right. By the way, LeBron James, he has always had to be the bad guy and pushing and prodding and getting, as it looks and has seemed in L.A., kind of like a relaxed, laid-back L.A. approach to playing basketball. That's why them dudes are gone. Out of Caldwell Pope. I like Caldwell Pope. But the other two, like Harrell, like he could have did more. We all can say he could have did more as a player. He didn't do as much as he needed to. So I don't see that as a tremendous loss. But Kuzma, what a disappointment. I mean, let's be real here. You could have transitioned into being more than what you were. There's still a whole lot of offseason left. You bring in a dog, D-A-W, not D-O-G, D-A-W-G. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what a dog is. They bite. They don't just bark. And Russell Westbrook will bring that hard-nosed mentality. If you watch the NBA Finals this year, what did you see out of Milwaukee that they didn't have last year? When you watch the Phoenix Suns, what did you see that they didn't have last year? Dog mentality. You bring in CP3, you bring in Jay Crowder for the Suns. In Milwaukee, who'd you bring in that has a chip on his shoulder? PJ Tucker, which, by the way, could be an interesting addition to this LA team, by the way, but we won't go there right now because there's still a lot of offseason left. And then you bring in, obviously, Drew Holiday. Those are hard-nosed, get-after-it, dog mentality basketball players. And if you're going to be able to not only get out of the West, because they already should be favored to get out of the West right now, period, without Russ. You add Russell Westbrook, now you're putting yourself in the conversation to be able to win. And I know we could throw out the three-pointers and all that, J-Mac, but I ain't sweating.
It's funny, you guys didn't mention the threes. So if you're scoring at home, Rick Bucher, 50% right. LeVar Arrington, 50% right. Here's the 100% answer. Russell Westbrook is a huge addition, helps the Lakers in the regular season. This guy plays harder than anyone else in the regular season with a ferocity and intensity that no one else in the league has. That's why when the Wizards were languishing in the basement, he put him on his back for 6 weeks, averaged a triple-double. Washington got to the postseason. But the problem where Russell Westbrook kills the Lakers, and Rick, I think we would agree here, is in the playoffs. We know that the game goes a little more half-court. Russ does not move off the ball. That's one of his problems. He just stands there. He doesn't want to move off the ball. His spacing is very poor for a LeBron team, and he can't shoot. Let's be realistic. For a point guard in the NBA, Russell Westbrook cannot shoot the ball. And if Lakers fans want to get worried, here's the number. Last year, Russ took a career-low 30% of his shots at the rim. 30. That's it, because he was settling for a lot of jumpers. 2 years ago in Houston, 49% of his shots at the rim. He was attacking when they didn't have a center. Now the lane's going to be clogged with LeBron and Anthony Davis's defender. And I'm just warning Laker fans, if they do not add shooting, Rick, I think you would agree with me here, there's going to be a major problem for the Lakers. They need to do whatever they can, move heaven and earth to get Buddy Hield in here. He made the second most threes in the league this year, okay? Currently, the best three-point shooter on the Lakers, when Kuzma's gone and KCP's gone, is LeBron James. He made 104 threes. That ranked 94th in the NBA. I mean, after that, you're looking at Wesley Matthews and the Bad Morris twin. It's bleak for the Lakers. I'm just telling you guys, in the postseason, the Lakers will have problems. And Rick, I'm just curious, how's Russell Westbrook going to handle it when Frank Vogel pulls him with 5 minutes left and says, we need more shooting on the floor, Russ. Can you come over here and sit out?
Yeah, here's the problem, though. You're going to pull Russ Westbrook off, and who are you going to put in
Caruso,
other than
baby.
Buddy Hield?
Come on.
To substitute in. No, that is the issue, and I'm glad you brought up the whole playoff picture because this is the reality, LeVar. It's not just about being good in the regular season. I'm glad you brought up the Brooklyn Nets as well.
Well, that's why
they were great in the regular season. I expected them to be great in the regular season. You talk about age and injury history and what's the big deal? Who cares? Who cares about that? I would say Brooklyn Nets fans care about that because their juggernaut, their big three-headed monster, couldn't get anywhere close to the finish line. And I'm now looking at another team in the Lakers with a big three-headed monster that isn't going to get anywhere close to the finish line. If not because of injury, then it's because of execution, as J. Mac noted when it comes to Russell Westbrook in the postseason. Yes, Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple-double. He's done that multiple years. Has he ever sniffed the finals while doing it? No, he has not. And by the way, take a quick look at the turnover average as well. It's way up there. He's not the efficient playmaker that Chris Paul and some others are. So that whole idea of him being this great playmaker, yes, he gets a lot of assists. He also turns the ball over at a tremendous rate. So I look at where the Lakers are, and I fully expect that this deal is going to, at some point, include Buddy Hield. And that does make the deal more palatable. And I even understand why LeBron and the Lakers would do this, because they had lost confidence in Kyle Kuzma. They weren't playing Montrezl Harrell. They even lost confidence in KCP. But this is an act of, okay, I hope that Russell Westbrook can be more than what we had, because we know that what we had wasn't good enough. That's not nearly convincing enough for me to believe that Russell Westbrook is the answer to the Lakers winning one more title before LeBron hangs it up. And that is the prism with which we look at the Lakers and LeBron James. Not can they be good in the regular season, not can they make a playoff run, can they win a championship? And they're no more set up to win a championship next year than the Brooklyn Nets were this year.
I think it's a great point. But again, I still think that adding Russ, I'm not looking at Russ being the addition to this team as being the answer to being able to win it all. I look at Russ as being a piece of the total sum. Let's not, you mentioned just now with LeBron, let's not take away from the greatness of LeBron James. If LeBron James is LeBron James next season, then Russell Westbrook will conform to that environment that he's in. I just believe that. The last time we saw Russ not be in a situation where we're like, is he going to handle it the right way? He was in OKC, and we're looking at a kind of, should you be getting the ball to KD? Or are you going to keep dribbling and shooting and turning the ball over? That's a younger Russell Westbrook in this game. That's not the Russ that we see today. So when I think about him coming to the LA Lakers, he already knows what he's coming in here to fit into. He already is aware. If you didn't know, he's from here. He played ball here. So the idea of it is, I don't subscribe to this whole, just because you added Russell Westbrook, you didn't make your team better. Yes, you did. You did make your team better, because he is a better player than most players in the NBA. And as far as the playoffs are concerned, LeBron knows the playoffs well enough. AD's got a championship. AD was on the hook for not getting championships before he came and played with LeBron. So I'm not buying all of that. I think that Russ will fit in, and the way he plays the game, I think it will fit the style of play that they need to have to be a little bit more competitive than what they were this year.
I don't question that Russell Westbrook will try to fit in. He tried to play with Paul George. He tried to play with Bradley Beal. I don't question that he's selfish or that he wants it to be all about him. That's not how I see Russ. What I see in Russ is a guy who is incapable of being aggressive with his own game and melding it with somebody else. It goes all the way back to Kevin Durant and OKC, where it's take a number. It's your turn, it's my turn. And that's not how championship teams function ultimately. So I'm not concerned about him not trying. I think he's going to try, but I've seen him try, and it ultimately hasn't worked. But I'm going to come back to, this is the question. Their defense is going to be nowhere near as good as it was. Will Russ Westbrook make their offense better? Possibly and probably. Will Buddy Hield and Russ Westbrook make their offense better? Probably. But is it going to make it so much better that it's going to make up for what they lose defensively? That's the trade-off that I don't see. And by the way, Russ Westbrook is coming from a Washington Wizards team that gave up the most points per game of any team in the league. He is coming from the exact opposite environment than what the Lakers had last season. And that's my issue, because as J-Mac pointed out, in the postseason, it slows down. Your half-court execution and your defense become primary. And we saw that with the Milwaukee Bucks. You can even take away the three-point shooting, but it's being able to attack the rim, it's being able to operate in the half-court set, and it's being able to defend. And I don't see the Lakers being appreciably better in those areas as a result of having Russ Westbrook.
I just want to push back on LeVar a little bit. I know you said Russ will conform, and I believe he'll change his ways. Does a tiger shed his stripes? It just doesn't happen. We saw Russ. It didn't work out with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant leaves. You think, oh, he'll change for Paul George. Didn't happen. You think, oh, he was boys with James Harden. They both are from Los Angeles.
I would push back on that.
They'll figure it out. James Harden and Russ will it lasted a year. Like, this idea of we'll figure it out. We keep hearing this throughout the league. Let's get the stars together. They'll figure it out. How often does that happen? I think it's a little overblown. And frankly, Russ is 33.
Rodman
He's desperate.
shed his and put different stripes on.
Hey, Dennis Rodman never had an offensive game, okay? Russ, as Rick said, once the ball in his hands, it was your turn. Now I need to get mine. Like, Russ is one of those get mine guys. Listen, he's from out here in L.A. I have some friends who are friends with him. He's an intense guy. He works out. Listen, he's a talented player. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't know how this team works in the postseason, LeVar. I have concerns if they don't get a shooter.
I'm taking them if they stay healthy. Coming up next, Dak Prescott. He will not be throwing for a few days. We'll tell you how big his latest injury really is. Next on Speak for Yourself. Thursday was Dak Prescott's birthday. Happy birthday, Dak! But this week has not all been positive. Dak left practice Wednesday with a shoulder strain, but he said he'll be fine, adding, I don't see this as any kind of serious setback. Mike McCarthy, he gave an update on his QB. Take a listen.
Dak will still do all the drill work, and he'll be able to do the mock games, and so we're just really going to cut out the throwing here for probably a few days.
How soon do you anticipate he could resume throwing?
A few days, 2-3 days. Is that a couple days? A few days?
Two's a couple.
I'm trying to buy a little flexibility there, so give it to me, please.
Gotta love that. So, Jason, how big of a setback is this Dak injury?
Yeah, I'm going to go with, can we call up the cake again? Because I have a good note that our sharp producer said. When you watch the cake go in Dak's face, you see more cameras. Hard knocks, Rick Bucher. You see more cameras in the vicinity than you do teammates. This is all no big deal. Just a big nothing burger. This is what's being called rust, Rick. Hey, man, he got hurt in October. He's been out forever, not throwing a football. And now he's throwing a bunch this week. Oh, arm's a little rusty. That's it. It's July. My calendar still says July. Rick, I know you like to look into the future. It's still July. A couple days off for good behavior. But guess what? Yeah. We can have video of Dak, feeling for his arm when they run the Hard Knocks cameras and they put the serious music over it. LeVar, you're a big TV guy. You know that's serious. Oh, no. Dak, throwing shoulder. And you get the music playing. This is nothing. Dallas fans are not concerned. Everybody who hit me up on the gram yesterday, gassing up Dak, thank you. You guys are fine. You're winning the NFC East. Yes, I said it.
Hey,
NFC East champs.
Hey, can we put him running towards Zeke with the cake in slow motion by chance? Is that possible? Because here's what Hard Knocks is going to do. Hard Knocks is going to be like, did Dak Prescott forget that his shoulder is supposed to be injured during the course of him going to put the cake in his teammate's face, and then suddenly remember that I better not keep going with this right hand because I'm being held out because my throwing arm, my such and such is, let me switch hands. Yeah. Let me switch hands and do it with my left hand because we got all these cameras around and they're probably going to point out that I'm running to throw this cake at him with my right arm. It's nothing. And I know, Rick, you're going to jump in here and you're going to say, it's something. He needs to be practicing. He needs to play 4 quarters in the Hall of Fame game. He needs to get 5 touchdowns to prove that the Cowboys are going to go win the Super Bowl because Dak is healthy. One of the quotes that got away from the sound that we put out there from Coach McCarthy was a fatigue injury. A fatigue injury. All right. This is not a big deal. You know what that says to me? They have been working Dak Prescott and they've been working him diligently and very vigorously to get him to where he's comfortable and confident with what he's got going on. Fatigue, injury, all that means is a couple days, 1 to 2 to 3 days. If you're telling me that this is a major setback for Dak to be out 1 to 2 or 3 practices going into the season, they got much bigger problems that they need to address outside of Dak being, you know, shoulder ready to get in there and play ball.
Yeah, I can always tell when someone's argument is weak is when they got to exaggerate everything, not what they're saying, but what somebody else is supposedly saying. I'm not saying that this is a mountain, but you guys are nuts if you think it's just a molehill. We're getting a fatigue issue on the first day of training camp, and the number of days that he's now going to miss is so uncertain that Mike McCarthy is asking for flexibility and leeway. Please don't hold me to how many days he's going to miss, because you know what? I don't know. I don't know how many games he's going to miss.
He didn't say
Here's
games.
the reality.
Now it's not days, it's games now, LeVar.
He said days, not games.
It's days, excuse me.
All right.
I don't know how many days he's going to miss.
All right.
Let's hope he doesn't miss the. Let's hope he doesn't miss the.
We are assuming
the Hall
he's
of Fame
probably
game
going to
here
miss
on
the Hall of
Fox.
Fame game. I mean,
Rick, let me
maybe
remind
not.
you, this is Dak's sixth
Is
year
he?
in Dallas.
You mean he can't even play in the Hall of Fame
Well,
game?
maybe
wow.
not.
Kellen Moore, his offensive
you know
coordinator,
what?
been there since
It's-
2018.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. The entire franchise's future and their season rests on Dak Prescott's shoulders, and they're already showing the strain. That's not a big deal. Who cares? He's just your highest paid employee who missed an entire year with an injury and is working with a brand new second-year center in Tyler Biadish. Oh, and wait a minute, what's that? The offensive line is key to this season?
Yes.
J-Mac said that the other day. Well, then it must be true. What's that? Tyron Smith is not the left tackle. Their best lineman is not playing. He's not practicing either because he has an owie. There's nothing to see here. And by the way, the whole cake thing, I'm running to throw it with my throwing arm, and then I realize, no, I can't lift my arm above my shoulder, so I better put it in my left hand. That's the explanation for the move by Dak Prescott. As much as it would be, I cannot believe, LeVar, that you are signing up for J-Mac's ridiculous. This is all for the cameras and Hard Knocks.
Drama
That's
Kings, baby.
why this injury is being played up. You guys have to be kidding me.
If his shoulder was so sore, his pectoral, whatever it is that they're saying it is, I can't say.
Latissimus.
I can't pronounce it. You got it. He's not holding that cake like that with one arm. Like, if this is a serious situation, he's not even out there moving. He's not moving his arm the way he's moving his arm. And let's go back to this game.
At least, I don't know, 12,
the
13
whole
ounces.
owies thing. Like, let's address this owies thing, and Lyle isn't playing and this and that. Guys don't play very much at all in the Hall of Fame game. It doesn't happen.
Practice.
It's an extra game.
No practice.
It's a 6-year quarterback.
It's an extra game, and you got a longer season this year, Rick. Stop using this Hall of Fame game as a way to get out of this.
Rick Bucher, did you notice Joe Burrow coming off an ACL with the Bengals? Second-year quarterback, not playing in any preseason games at all. I personally don't know why Dak's playing more than
I'm not talking about games.
Series.
I'm talking about. I'm going to channel Allen Iverson
we're
here.
talking about
I'm
practice.
talking about practice.
Oh, boy.
It's practice. Look, it's the first week. We have said the Dallas Cowboys need to get everybody on the same page. Dak Prescott hasn't been there for a year. The offensive line was discombobulated. You've got all these new pieces. I don't care so much about the games, although I do think it is important for Dak Prescott to play some in the exhibition games in order to get conditioned to game speed. You can't replicate that in practice. But we can't even get through a week of practice with the offensive line and Dak Prescott. And you guys want to tell me that there's absolutely nothing to worry about, as if the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't prefer to have Dak Prescott and the offensive line healthy and intact and practicing at this point. You're basically telling me It doesn't matter whether they're on the field or not right now in practice. Well, then why are we even practicing? Why are they even suiting? Why did he suit up on the first day in order to strain his shoulder? Please explain to me why we're even going through this exercise right now. Unless you're telling me it's just because Hard Knocks is in town. That's the only reason they're holding training camp.
Rick, teams practice, bro. And everybody,
yeah, they
and
normally
everybody,
they do.
And everybody
And their players
doesn't
practice.
And everybody doesn't always practice. And it isn't. This is the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody wants the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. They're the most covered team in all of probably sports, outside of maybe the Lakers, but they probably are the most covered team in sports. Dak Prescott is going to get scrutiny, and he's going to be microscoped because of who he is on the team that he's on. But the one thing that I liked about Coach McCarthy is he did not panic in his responses to what's going on with Dak Prescott. He cannot allow for the things that you are saying to creep up on them as a team, because the ultimate thing here is to be healthy come the start of the regular football season. So while you do have a ton of merits to what it is that you're saying, I think you make some great points, honestly. Like, I'm being honest. I'm not even being sarcastic. You do make some great points. But with that being said, if you need to take the entire preseason, like you just said, J-Mac, if you have to take the entire preseason to do that, then you do it. The whole goal is to make sure that you are in shape, that you are strategically sound going into week 1 of the season. Until we get to the third preseason game, if we're talking about his injury, third preseason game, then I'll concede to you that this was a problem and you were right all along. But until we get to that third preseason game and I see them play 3 quarters before they come out, I'm not making this a thing. It's not even an anthill right now. It's a nothing hill. It's flat land right now.
The guys in the desert have not moved Dak's MVP odds, by the way, Rick. I know you're concerned. Coming up next, Aaron Rodgers reworked his contract. We got a lot to say about what on earth is going on in Green Bay. Next on Speak For Yourself.
Yeah, we do. Let's head to Green Bay, where it's been anything but quiet this week. Aaron Rodgers aired out his issues to the media. Now, according to reports, he has also reworked his deal. Take a look at the details. Reports say the last year of his deal in 2023 will be voided, and the Packers will save about $10 million in cap space this season. So, I'm going to try to ask this with a straight face, LeVar. What do you make of Aaron Rodgers' reworked deal?
It's a win. It's a win. That's what I make of it.
Who?
It's a win for Aaron Rodgers, and he creates a win for Green Bay as well. It is a mutual win. But again, as I stated, and I continue to state, Aaron Rodgers is playing this game where, like, that contract, that's a piece off of the board. He took a piece, and Green Bay did not take a piece off of the board in this chess game. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers did something that was vitally important going into his first initial press conference where people got to hear his voice after this offseason, which was he got Green Bay to make concessions. They made concessions for Aaron Rodgers. Ask 99.99999% of the players that play in the National Football League if they can go to their employer and do what Aaron Rodgers just had Green Bay do with his contract. Oh, we'll just void that last year of your contract. No problem. You know what that does for him? That gives him a stacked deck to play this season the way he wants to play this season. I'm going to go hard in the paint and force Green Bay to have to reconcile with me on my terms. If we play well, I get to stay in Green Bay with what I want, which is some control, some power, and a voice. If I don't play well, then now having that last year of my contract voided out gives me a clear path to beat cheats up out of here. That's the bottom line of what took place with this restructuring or redoing or whatever it is you want to call what they did to this contract. Aaron Rodgers has come out. He has publicly criticized and put a pinpoint bullseye on the front office of Green Bay, and he's doing a masterful job of doing it. And Green Bay has done nothing but perpetuate it even more with their responses. So it's a bonus for Aaron Rodgers. It's a win situation for Green Bay because they get a voided contract. They have more money. They can sign more players. But this is clearly still a win for Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand why you don't get this, Rick Bucher. Golly, I keep trying to tell you what this is.
Because I'm not seeing what was reworked in this deal. You're saying that
nothing has to be reworked. You're looking at it from the numbers or from the contractual standpoint. I'm looking at it from he got them to take action on the contract. They made action. They made a void. That void, VOID, that's what he needed. He needed an adjustment to the contract to validate what he's doing. That's all he needed. He didn't need any more numbers.
They made concessions.
Yes.
But they didn't make the concessions that Aaron Rodgers was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
And they only made the concessions necessary in order to get him into training camp and playing this season, which is what they wanted.
And that's a win for Aaron Rodgers. That's a win for Aaron Rodgers.
But that's not that he's playing this season. Yes, and it's also a win for the Green Bay Packers
to play this year. That now validates the things that he's been saying in his initial presser. But go ahead.
But they were concessions that they were willing to make. To take a year off of his contract to get $10 million more of cap space this year, why wouldn't the Packers want to do that? To bring back Randall Cobb, okay, we'll bring him back, even though, Brian Gutekunst said, we're doing that for Aaron. We looked at the salary. I mean, essentially, in all the comments that Gutekunst made, he said, I don't regret anything that I've done. And in a passive-aggressive way, he said, you know what? Aaron Rodgers really doesn't understand the business of the NFL. We're not going to do anything different. We don't regret that we did what we've done in the past. But if it's going to placate Aaron in order to get him into camp and get him to play one more season for us, then okay, I guess that we'll do this. But everything that Gutekunst said and everything that Aaron Rodgers said in his press conference was nothing has changed. Nothing demonstrably has changed. And so what is the rework deal works in the favor of the Packers as much or more than it does for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers didn't gain any more authority or input on what the Packers are doing.
That's not true.
Not necessarily, okay? So what they did, essentially, Rick, was they kicked the can down the road and freed up more cap room this year.
That's not no. It's a yes or no.
No, they kicked the can down the road.
Not necessarily. It might be in the future. It's not maybe he's going to have a voice later.
Next year. So next year they have to say, all right, we got to rework your deal, Aaron, or we got to trade you to save $19 million. And you know who we saw do this with, not masterfully? The New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees. They kept kicking the can down the road. We're close to the Super Bowl. We've got a great record. We're going to break through with Drew Brees. And guess what happened? Drew Brees said, you know what? I'm done. I'm retiring. And they had to cut 8 starters because they're capped out. They're in salary cap hell. Right now, the Green Bay Packers are saying, oh, geez, next year is going to be bleak, but maybe we can win it this year. What they did was they're hoping next year Aaron Rodgers will come to his senses and say, okay, I'm going to stay. I love the culture here. We're going to rework a new deal. Davante Adams is angry with us. He hates us. He's our best receiver, maybe our second best player on the team. He wants to stay now because we're keeping Aaron. They're kicking the can to next year and hoping and praying that everything works out in that locker room. But I'll tell you this, LeVar Arrington is spot on. Aaron Rodgers won this. He won the press conference. He's won the court of public opinion. And Aaron Rodgers now has changed the culture. Everybody's on his side, man. When you see Davante Adams, Rick, and his response, like that, those are your 2 star players, your tentpole guys, and they're very upset at the franchise. What does that tell you, Green Bay Packers?
He might have won the press conference. So what? That's not what he was trying to win. He was trying to win his freedom or he was trying to win, having a say in how they build this team. Brian Gutekunst doesn't sound or look the least bit shook by anything that Aaron Rodgers said. In fact, he feels it sounds a little bit insulted that Aaron Rodgers doesn't understand the business of the NFL.
I forgot
and you
what
guys
Brian
have to
Gutekunst
understand.
has won
I came
what has he
into
done?
the business.
He's nobody. He's done nothing. Aaron Rodgers has 3 MVPs. He's got a Super Bowl. What has Gutekunst done? Name one thing he's done.
And who has run the Packers the last decade for all that Aaron Rodgers has done? Has it earned him a seat at the table or the ability to determine who stays or who goes? Was he able to keep Jordy Nelson? No, he wasn't able to keep Jordy Nelson. Was he able to keep Randall Cobb? No, he wasn't able to keep Randall Cobb. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. I'm not disputing that. He's accomplished great things. But if he was looking to have control over the Green Bay Packers, he didn't have it before, and he doesn't have it now. And I came into this business covering the 49ers. Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, and Steve Young. And I saw firsthand Bill Walsh kick Joe Montana to the curb.
He had an injury.
Traded to the Kansas City Chiefs to make room for... But it's still going on. Who won the battle in New England? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
Tom Brady.
Who's still in New England?
Yeah, they're losing. How are you winning when you're not even making the playoffs?
No, he didn't. He had to leave. He had to leave. It's not about
Tom
what
Brady won a Super Bowl.
You guys are talking about what's going on the field.
Bill Belichick won that breakup. Bill Belichick is languishing.
It's not.
Struggling with the Dolphins.
Who's still in New England?
Stop it.
I understand.
Who is still running the show in New England?
I understand what you're saying, Rick.
Who is still running the show in New England?
And losing. Tom Brady has another Super Bowl ring. It's clear that Tom Brady meant more to the Patriots than Bill Belichick.
This is still an evolution. Tom Brady started the evolving of how high-profile franchise quarterback or players will dictate to how the negotiations go between players and
no
organizations.
Evidence of that.
You're right that Tom Brady did have to leave, but Tom Brady was willing to leave. Just like Aaron Rodgers is doing the same exact thing, and Aaron Rodgers is willing to leave. The very fundamental difference between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers is that you have Bill Belichick and you have Kraft, the owner, that are already leadership focal figures that are credible already in place. There is no protection of the adversarial situation going on with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Gutekunst, Murphy, they do not stand up in the wake of who Aaron Rodgers is and what he represents to that organization. And that is the difference. He is making history.
Rodgers wanted Gutekunst out. He's still there.
Yeah. No, hold on.
Rodgers said, I want Gutekunst gone.
I have assumed that Aaron Rodgers wanted them out.
He's still there.
I have assumed that Aaron Rodgers wanted them out. I am now evolving with my understanding of what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Aaron Rodgers doesn't necessarily want them out. They wanted each other out. They wanted Aaron Rodgers out. Aaron Rodgers wanted them out. But if I want to win this, I have to adjust. I don't necessarily have to get them out, but I will force them into a situation where they have to conform. Yeah. He did come out. The GM did come out and say, Aaron Rodgers deserves a voice. He deserves a seat at the table. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not and saying Aaron Rodgers doesn't know how to run a team and do all that, that's fine. But the bottom line is what Aaron Rodgers has set out to do, he has done. He is executing masterfully,
LeVar,
and there's nothing that they can do about it.
Would you agree that if Rick is saying that the Packers won this battle, but you and I are saying Aaron Rodgers has won the war. Aaron Rodgers is winning the long-term game. If you want to play short-term games, fine. Packers, take your little win. Guess what's going to happen next year? Really bad things. Go ask Bill Belichick and the Patriots how that worked out, letting Tom Brady walk. Tom Brady's got another Super Bowl. Belichick's sitting here, we got Mac Jones or Cam Newton as our quarterback. Maybe we'll get to 500.
Well, you want anything else, Rick? Nope, I'm not going to let you go. Coming up, the Lakers have formed their own Big Three. But we'll tell you if Russell Westbrook makes them finals favorites. Next on Speak for Yourself.
Steve Young or Jordan Love? Who you got there? The Lakers added a former MVP to their roster, according to reports, with Russell Westbrook headed to L.A. in a multiplayer deal. Magic Johnson called Russ, quote, the most electric player in the NBA today. and added his addition will definitely make the Lakers a championship contender next season. Boy, Magic Johnson, always on top of things. Rick, does Russell Westbrook make the Lakers finals favorites?
Oh, good God, no. Bless Magic Johnson's little old heart. Magic Johnson has been vacationing in Italy for the last, I don't know, based on his IG, it seems like it's been a couple of months, and I don't know that he's back yet. So apparently, number one, he missed the NBA Finals, where the most electric player in the NBA ended up being the Finals MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I don't even know if I'm putting Russell Westbrook. Actually, I love Russell Westbrook's energy and his effort, and he is electric. Is he the most electric in the league? No. And as for them being finals favorites, because they got Russell Westbrook again, the reason that we believed in the Lakers this year was because of their defense. The defense is going out the door, whether it's KCP or Dennis Schroeder or Kyle Kuzma or Montrezl Harrell. They're losing a ton of pieces to the existing team. And are they going to be better offensively? Yeah, I would imagine that they're going to be somewhat better offensively. But this idea that, well, let's put it this way. Magic Johnson is the same Magic Johnson who also said that Lonzo Ball was going to have his jersey hanging in the rafters at the Staples Center and was going to be the next all-time great Laker. And if we really, really want to go deep into that social media feed of Magic Johnson, we can probably find a lot of extraordinary, excited statements that never came close to fruition. And I dare say that this is going to be just another one on the list.
I don't know, Rick. You seem a little harsh. It's like you're calling this Lakers trade like they gave up a poo-poo platter in exchange for Westbrook. Let me remind you, Mr. Rick Bucher, who covers the NBA closely, KCP was the Lakers' third best player in the bubble when they won the championship. I mean, listen, I think
Correct.
You're being a little bit harsh on Russell Westbrook here. Remember, this guy is electric in the regular season. Nobody in the league plays with the intensity he does in January and February. We know that he turns into a bit of a pumpkin in the playoffs because his inability to shoot the basketball. But again, the Lakers, just because they have three guys making over $100 million, chewing up 75% of the salary cap, doesn't mean they're dead in the water. Listen, you know how LeBron operates, Rick. He can definitely go to J.J. Redick and a couple other veterans, shooters, and say, hey, man, you want a chance to live out here in sunny Los Angeles and have a shot at a ring? Also, the desert, where they set odds and they build casinos in the desert, they have the Lakers as the favorites in the West. I mean, listen, if you think the Clippers, who are going to be without Kawhi the entire regular season, or the Nuggets, who will be without Jamal Murray until probably March, if there's a better team in the West, I haven't seen it. And don't you dare say the Phoenix Suns, who were dead in the water to the Lakers, down 2-1 until Anthony Davis got hurt. The Lakers are still the best team in the West. Can they get by the Nets? That's another discussion for next week.
Again, the players that you lost in this trade are not players that determined how good this team was playing when they were in the playoffs. Will we all agree with that? So if you take and you add a player that makes them perceivably better than what they were this past season, I got to go with J-Mac on this as well. You got to look at, I don't know that I say that they're the favorite to win it, but they certainly will come out of the West. Who is there to beat them? If they have a healthy AD, like you said, J-Mac, if he doesn't go down in that series, they win that series. And I think they win it pretty handily.
Look who's on that list, LeVar.
I think they win it pretty handily.
Golden State Warriors have better odds than over half the West. And this is a Warriors team who lost in the play-in game.
I'm a big Utah fan, and everybody knows that. I ring the bell for Utah. I like Utah. But if I'm being realistic right now, today, if there is a healthy Anthony Davis coming into the season and he's able to stay healthy through the season, stay healthy in the playoffs, if you have a healthy LeBron James, and y'all know I hate playing the if game. I really hate playing the if game. But with that being said, in the offseason, you can play the if game because, quite frankly, we know that they're good enough to win the championship because they did win the championship. They're only 1 year removed from winning the championship. So you add a guy like Russell Westbrook with a team that already is or should have been favored or was favored this past year, that we talked about being the best team coming out of the West, that probably would have come out of the West this year had some unfortunate circumstances to AD don't happen. I just think that adding Russell Westbrook, and by the way, it is debatable if he is the most electric player in the NBA. It really is debatable. Like, you can look at Morant. I think Morant might edge him out in terms of electric with those young legs. But when you look at the way Russ plays the game, he is as electric as a Morant or anybody else that we would look at and deem the most electric player. That doesn't mean efficient. That doesn't mean effective.
Certainly not.
That means this guy can light up the court with the way he plays, and he plays hard. I have no problem sitting here saying that Russell Westbrook puts them in a great position to get into the NBA Finals and challenge for it this upcoming season.
And I suspect that electric ability, that electricity, is why he's in a Lakers uniform, because it sells, because they want to win the press conference, because they want to have some pizzazz.
Back to the press
but
conference.
To suggest, look, the numbers, the mechanics of this just doesn't work. We've talked about Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and we're talking about trying to keep them healthy through the course of the year, okay? And they haven't been. They weren't able to with a 72-game season. And yes, they won a championship in the bubble after having 3 months off, after having a truncated season, not having to travel during the playoffs. That worked in their favor for where they are. Certainly worked in Anthony Davis's favor. And now you're going to deplete your bench. You're taking all of these guys, the top 4 guys in minutes played this year, who, because they were able to keep this boat afloat, even with Anthony Davis missing half the season and LeBron James out for an extended period of time, those guys carried the water. Those guys still kept this team in position to still make the playoffs. Had to be a play-in game, but they still kept them above water. Now you're going to take all those pieces away, and you're going to add a 33-year-old Russ Westbrook, who one of the reasons, J-Mac, that he doesn't finish at the rim as much is because of all those knee surgeries. He doesn't have the same lateral ability that he once had, so everything's straight line. Well, straight line works in transition. It doesn't work in half court.
Rick, let me ask you
So you're adding another guy at 33 to a team that is already old with 36-year-old Marc Gasol, 34-year-old Wes Matthews, 36-year-old LeBron James, 31-year-old Markieff Morris. I mean, this is the over 30 crew.
Just throw dirt on them, Rick.
We've seen that not sustain itself over shorter seasons.
Here's the problem, Rick. This is the problem. You're not giving me a team in the West that is better than the Lakers right now.
Finish?
And you have to factor in the injuries, only the injuries to Kawhi and Jamal Murray. The problem is there's nobody in the West who's proven to be better than the Lakers. Not better than LeBron and Anthony Davis, who, when they play together,
the Phoenix Suns proved to be better.
Who?
The Phoenix Suns proved to be better.
The team that was down 2-1 to LeBron and Anthony Davis.
The team that won the series.
Well,
the team that won the series.
Does the injury not matter?
I mean, the Bucks were down 2-0 to the Brooklyn Nets.
That matters.
And the Brooklyn Nets couldn't stay healthy enough to win the series.
You're acting like Kyrie Irving didn't get hurt. Like,
what are we talking about?
No planet are the Suns better than the Lakers.
The Clippers beat the Jazz, finished the Jazz off without Kawhi Leonard. Like, depth and versatility is a hallmark of teams that are winning the championship. The Toronto Raptors, were they the better team than the Golden State Warriors? No, but they were the deeper, healthier team when they won. The teams that got to the finals this year with the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks, were they arguably the best teams on paper? No, but they were the teams that were able to stay healthy because they had depth and versatility,
But here's the
and
thing.
they could
Depth
still
can
win
only
when they
take you
didn't
so
have their
far.
stars.
Rick, the Lakers' depth that you love to talk about, and I agree, they were younger and deeper with Kuzma and Harrell. But did they really perform, Rick? The Lakers only got I believe, the 7th seed. They had to win a play-in thriller.
They did.
You know, just to get the 7th seed.
They did when they won the championship.
They did win the championship, yes. But last year, with the injuries to LeBron, during the regular season, did the depth give them anything?
No.
Kuzma, I joked on this, on Undisputed.
No.
Kuzma was as unreliable as the Wi-Fi in my basement. And Kuzma got upset and whatever, I get it. But guess what? He's unreliable. That's why LeBron said, get the hell out of here, dude. You're not delivering. Russell Westbrook does deliver. You know this. LeVar knows this.
Oh, whoa. So Russell Westbrook is more reliable in the playoffs.
No, I didn't say playoffs. I didn't say
Qualifying.
playoffs.
Here we
I
go.
didn't say playoffs.
Here we
Well,
go.
what are we talking about?
You are a
Regular
piece of
season.
work, Rick.
That's when you need Russell Westbrook. All right, switch
Rick
to
is a-
soccer.
wow.
Sunday's Gold Cup final between the USA and Mexico is featured on the free-to-play Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan the QR code below, download the app, and answer 6 questions about the game for your shot to win $1,000.
Can't wait.
Zeke is ready to eat. So am I. But we'll tell you if his workload should be reduced this season next on Speak for Yourself.
Thursday on Fox, the NFL is back. Catch Big Ben and the Steelers as they battle Zeke and the Cowboys in the Hall of Fame game. All the action is on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Speaking of the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott is trying to bounce back from the worst statistical year of his career. One problem could have been his workload. No running back has had as many touches since 2016 as Zeke. Take a listen to Mike McCarthy.
When you look at a player like Zeke, because of what he's done at the level, the volume that he's done early in his year, I think you have to be cognizant of the long road. It's not necessary for Zeke to run the ball 25 times, 30 times a game because, the most important thing is when you get into December, January football, you want him to be in top form to be able to run the ball 25, 30 times.
So, Jason, do you like Mike McCarthy's approach to Zeke's workload?
Yeah, Rick, this has been like an ongoing theme the last 2 days. McCarthy's talking about the long game, not the short-term game. In life, you always want to think big picture, long-term. I love what McCarthy's talking about. Now, I do wonder, Jerry Jones is very tight with Ezekiel Elliott. That's his guy. Is McCarthy getting called into a glass office and being like, yo, hey, Tony Pollard is a nice gadget toy, but Zeke's our guy. We got to give him the carries. I personally love Tony Pollard. I'll be drafting him in one of my 5 fantasy football leagues. Pollard, by the way, higher yards per carry than Zeke the last 2 years. More explosive of a runner, has a longer carry than Zeke in the last 2 years. And, Ezekiel Elliott tied a career high with 6 fumbles last year. And I know we can say, well, Jay, it's the offensive line. Everybody's banged up. Well, Tony Pollard ran behind that same offensive line, did not have 6 fumbles. So, listen, I'm not saying Zeke is ready to be tossed out. I don't think he's a shell of his former self yet. But as we've seen with other running backs, they do wear down when you beat them into the offensive line 20, 30 times a game. So I love the idea of Tony Pollard getting a lot of carries. I will say that offense remains very stacked. Probably the second best receiving group in the NFL. As long as the offensive line's healthy, a little Tony Pollard here, Zeke there, this team should win the NFC East.
Yes, I like the way Coach McCarthy is approaching this. It's wise. It's sensible. Don't wear him out and wear him down for the sake of what? Proving to everyone that he can carry the ball 20-plus times every single game. This is not the NFL that Emmitt Smith was in. This is not the NFL that Tony Dorsett was in. This is a very different, very pass-happy, very pass-heavy NFL that we're in now. You don't necessarily have to run a running back that much to have success these days. That's the first point. Second point is we need to really, really reevaluate this whole Tony Pollard thing. I thought Tony Pollard in spaces did an excellent job of running the ball. There's nothing wrong with the production you got from him, and there's nothing wrong with working him in to what the scenario is. But there's a difference between a back that can spell your franchise back and a franchise back. In 2 starts last season, 2 starts, Tony Pollard was a tight end in one of the games. He was listed as a tight end in the start, and he started one as a running back. Tony Pollard is not the starting running back for this team unless by default of an injury of some sort to Ezekiel Elliott. Not only that, but what we are going to find out this year in the carries that Ezekiel Elliott does get is he still the impact back that we came to know that ended up getting the big payday that he was able to get, that he earned, by the way. So now looking at where he's at, he comes in at 218 pounds. He seems and sounds very motivated, very grounded, very balanced in his thought and emotional approach to this season. Either we're going to get our best version of watching Ezekiel Elliott this year and this season, or we're not. But there should be no beef with Jerry Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, and Coach McCarthy in this situation, because Ezekiel should actually be happy that McCarthy is looking at it this way, where he's not going to run them into the ground and wait until they get later into the season and then start to progressively give him more carries as the games become more and more important to get yourself ready to make that Super Bowl run, if they should be in position to make a playoff and Super Bowl run. As of right now, I think this is a wise, prudent decision by Coach McCarthy, Rick.
All of that sounds good.
Well, that's
being
what it is.
sensible, being smart.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not really about that. It's about how Ezekiel Elliott feels about sharing time. And it's not even about carries. It's about snaps. How many snaps is he going to be on the field? And how much is he going to have to share with Tony Pollard? And look, guys, this has been a really hard year for all of us. And God bless the Dallas Cowboys for giving us something to pick us up. And I'm not talking about the season that they're going to have. I'm talking about the fact that they are going to do Hard Knocks at a time when their high sticker price quarterback is coming in and can't even get through the first day of practice.
Oh,
and now we have a running back controversy.
Jeez,
now
Rick.
we've got the cameras everywhere. And you know, all we need is that one instant of Ezekiel Elliott just saying something under his breath about Mike McCarthy or Tony Pollard, or Mike McCarthy says, okay, hey, first team, Pollard, you're in. And we flash the camera to Ezekiel Elliott going, or we see Ezekiel Elliott in his dorm room eating his feelings with some big bag of Cheetos, just upset about the fact that he's no longer the solo
Twinkies are usually
featured
the weapon
back
of
for
choice.
the Dallas Cowboys.
Rick, it is Friday.
It is,
Will you cheer up?
well,
Strawberry
it is
fields.
TV gold what the Dallas Cowboys are giving us.
Yes.
Their season is not going to be good. You can already see it starting to crumble.
Already.
But the
You know,
Hard
listen.
Knocks version of the Dallas Cowboys must see TV.
So, Rick, first of all, you're being a hater again. This is a little pessimistic of you on a Friday. I just want to remind everybody, LeVar used the phrase
I
franchise
am
back.
optimistic.
Oh,
Hard Knocks is going to be awesome.
This idea of a franchise back, LeVar, look at the teams that have won the Super Bowl in recent years. They've gone the franchise back out the door. Let's go back by committee, okay? Look at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Leonard Fournette was nice, but they mixed in a lot of Ronald Jones. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They just went with three backs. Whoever was healthy, plug and chug. Look even back to the Eagles a few years ago. The Patriots, this idea of a franchise back is from a bygone era. It just doesn't exist anymore. And you could tell me that Derrick Henry's a franchise back.
He is.
And I will shoot back. Go look what he did in the playoffs this year against the Ravens. He
He's
had
a
no
franchise
legs because
back.
they ran him into the ground, LeVar.
Yeah.
Franchise backs do not exist.
Alvin
And
Kamara.
if somebody can Alvin Kamara's won a ton in the playoffs. He can stack yards during the regular season. Playoffs come and he's bottled up. Jerry Jones needs to sit down with Zeke and be like, yo, we're going to lower your carries. I know you're not going to like that. Fantasy football owners are going to be yelling at you on Twitter.
What was
but
that?
Zeke, you're going to have to realize your carries are coming down. We need you in January. We're going to run Pollard. We're going to use you. Maybe we'll even use a third stringer, some guy whose name I don't yet know. We're going to work him into the mix because this is about the long game. January matters.
Hold on, Rick. Hold on.
Okay.
And Zeke's going to be.
I will say this.
Yeah. Okay, Jerry.
I will say this. They are not good enough at this point, from what we've seen of them, to have the conversation of, we'll save you until January. Like, let's be clear here. They do need to come out of the gate and establish what type of team they are going to be.
Oh, yeah.
That
Run
is for
team.
certain.
That's it.
So we don't need, I don't know what their identity is going to be. I do know they need to have balance in their running game. I do know that, because you cannot force Dak Prescott with this passing game. You cannot force them to be pass first and not have balance to keep them off of
especially
Dak
with that
Prescott.
arm.
Otherwise, you'll end up in
Can't
the same
force that.
situation you were in this past year. He's going to get flushed out, and something bad is going to
All
happen.
the good teams are
like
pass
that.
first, LeVar. Is it pass first league?
No, it's not. That's not true.
Oh.
All I'm going to say is this. I will say it is incorrect to say we are not going to use him until we need him later in the season, because that is not the type of team that Dallas Cowboys have not earned the right in recent history to be able to say we're going to wait to use him when it matters later in the year. That's what I will say. But again, with that being said, if I'm Ezekiel Elliott, I want to have reduced carries. I want my carries to matter. I want you to use me when you need to use me, and I want to have the gas to be able to carry it when I am getting the rock to carry it and I'm having good games. If I'm hot, keep feeding me. If I'm not, manage me. And that should be his approach to it. And he should be okay with that, because knowing that he's going to need to have that at this point in his career if he's to be as effective a runner as he has been in the past. That's what I'd say. Anyways, coming up, would the Sixers be better without Ben Simmons? We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself. Let's head back out to the NBA. Ben Simmons' future has been up in the air since Philly's playoff exit. Reports say that the Sixers had hoped to trade the three-time All-Star during last night's draft, adding the relationship with the two sides, quote, seems to be over, and the trade is a matter of when rather than if. So, Rick, what would the Sixers be better? Rick, would the Sixers be better without Ben Simmons? Would they be better without Ben?
Yes, they would. And I know that in trading him, they're not going to get the same talent back. It's not going to be equal. It's going to be pennies on the dollar in terms of the return. But it's going to be addition by subtraction, because this is the difficulty when you have a great player. And Ben Simmons is capable of being great, but you just never know when he's going to be great. And oftentimes he's not great. In fact, he's invisible when you need him most. And that puts you in a difficult position. I would rather have a lesser player who I know what I'm going to get from him on a consistent basis than I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know when Ben Simmons is going to be willing to shoot. I don't know when he's going to be willing or able to make free throws. I don't know when he's going to be aggressive or non-aggressive simply as a playmaker. The last 3 playoff games, he scored in single digits. It got to the point where Doc Rivers had him bring up the ball and then basically go to the dunker position, and you had Seth Curry or Tobias Harris running your offense. That's far from ideal if you're talking about trying to win a championship. By taking him out of the equation, this now puts more on Joel Embiid. He's essentially the last piece of the Sam Hinkie process. And to make good on that, then Joel Embiid is going to have to deliver and step up in a way that he was still trying to tiptoe and manage things and do it along with Ben Simmons. So are they going to get the same kind of talent back when they move him? No. He was a former Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time All-Star, all of that. He's all of that for a reason. But if you're talking about winning and winning on the highest level, sometimes taking a guy away who is just, you're uncertain about what you're going to get and when you're going to get it, it can be a plus. And I just think overall the Philadelphia 76ers will be a more balanced, confident team, knowing that they're not looking over at Ben and thinking, okay, is he or isn't he? That's not a good place for a team gunning for a championship to be.
Unfortunately, I've got to disagree, Rick. No, they're not going to be better without Ben Simmons. You talk about confidence and, looking over their shoulder. They were the #1 seed in the East with Ben Simmons. #1 seed in the East.
Regular season.
Okay? Yes, they were the best team in the East in the regular season. Now, the Nets didn't really play for it, but the Sixers got the #1 seed. And as usual, Joel Embiid missed about 20 games. So we can basically pencil him in for missing 20 games every year because he's always hurt. Rick, I just wonder who's going to fill that void. Okay, as you said, they're not going to be able to get equal value. So now you're removing an all-NBA player who is first-team all-defense the last 2 years, can guard 5 positions. He can play 1 through 5, defensively, guard any of those positions. Where are you getting that in return? This idea that all of a sudden, oh, yeah, Tobias Harris will just step up. I mean, he's one of the most overpaid players in the league.
Oh, wow.
Joel Embiid is always hurt. To get a guy like Kyle Lowry, which I think would be a catastrophic error on their part, you got to lose some of your nice shooters like Seth Curry. Rick, I just don't see this team getting further. You mentioned the process. Listen, I was all for the process. I love the idea. In theory, it sounded great. It has been a terrible failure, an epic failure, in fact. And they're not going to win a championship. They missed Jimmy Butler. They've made bad move after bad move. I am a Ben Simmons guy. Him and his buddies work out at my gym in the offseason. So I do I'm not friends with them, but I know people in their orbit. I'm a Ben Simmons fan. I'm rooting for him. It's clear the guy has not put in the work shooting the basketball, improving his free throws. A little disappointing. I do think he will survive elsewhere, but the Sixers are done. Once they trade Ben Simmons, unless they get Damian Lillard, it's over.
Well, I'll say they're better off without Ben Simmons, even though they're not additioning with the subtraction of him. I hate to do this because he's dealing with injury. Shout out to Carson Wentz. I hope your foot gets better. But this is a lot like the Carson Wentz situation that played out with the Philadelphia Eagles, ironically the same city. This is a breakdown in terms of trust amongst players and the coaching staff. The players don't trust Ben Simmons at this point. I don't know that Ben Simmons trusts the players. I don't think that Doc Rivers and the rest of the coaching staff trust Ben Simmons. And I don't think that Ben Simmons trusts them. And I think it all played out right in front of our faces in the playoffs this year. Yes, they had a good regular season. In fact, the best regular season. But in that time, there's so many games. There are a lot of ills and a lot of things that can be kind of, brushed under the rug, so to speak, while pushing towards getting to the playoffs. If there's one thing that I've learned watching the NBA and watching it closely over the last few years, whatever it is that your Achilles heel is going to be, teams are going to work their darndest to be able to expose that. And what we saw with the 76ers in this year's playoffs is that Ben Simmons was actually the biggest liability that other teams exposed and took advantage of during the playoffs this year. So with that being said, even if they're not better without him in terms of who replaces him, there still may be the idea of fresh starts for both of them from one another. Ben Simmons having a fresh start to possibly get his confidence back and knowing that he needs to work on some aspects of his game, and the 76ers fresh start and knowing that they can actually move forward and try to figure out how do they replace the void of Ben Simmons with someone else without sliding back too far in what they've been able to create, I think is ultimately the best path for them at this point in time for both sides in this scenario.
And we can look at the Milwaukee Bucks as a referendum on where the Philadelphia 76ers could go. Do they have as good of a regular season? No. The Milwaukee Bucks had the best record over the last couple of years, certainly in the Eastern Conference. And where did it ultimately get them? They slid down. They made some changes. They adjusted their team. They weren't as good a regular season team, but they were a better postseason team. I could see the Philadelphia 76ers doing the exact same thing in moving on from Ben Simmons. And the bar's not set that high because it's what? They need to get to the second round? Without Ben Simmons, I think they're still capable of that. You are right, J-Mac, in that when Joel Embiid was out, then Ben Simmons was capable of carrying the load. But much like we've talked about the Lakers, that's the same thing working for the Lakers. Like if LeBron misses time and you have Russ Westbrook, you know what? You can survive during the regular season. But it comes down to how those pieces work in the postseason. Yeah. How much do they complement each other when the game is on the line? That determines the true excellence of your team.
But Rick, hold on.
I don't know if they can get pieces that are going to fit better, but they can't get pieces that
Rick,
fit
the
worse.
Bucks,
because Ben Simmons didn't fit with Joel Embiid.
I don't like the analogy. The Bucks flipped Eric Bledsoe, who's a negative asset, for Drew Holiday, who was a massive upgrade. If you can find me the trade where you get Ben Simmons out and you bring in someone that's equal of Ben or greater, I'll love it. And I think I will agree with you. The problem is that deal does not exist. All reports claim that right now the Sixers are asking for heaven and the stars and the sun and everything
which they're
out
not
there.
Gonna get.
And they're not getting, I mean, they asked the Warriors for like 15 draft picks. Golden State hung up the phone on them. I don't know, other than Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal, where do you see a player who can have a Drew Holiday type impact on the Bucks on the Sixers? And I look around the league, like, who would Zach LaVine? Like, I don't know I don't know where we're looking.
No, there is a difficulty there. And then, you know, people have talked about C.J. McCollum. I know you've knocked down the idea of C.J. McCollum.
He's a nice
Portland Trailblazers wouldn't even make that deal. So it gives you an idea of where Philadelphia is in terms of what they could get. But if I got a C.J. McCollum, if I got a guy that I knew that when he's open, he's going to shoot and has the capability of making the shot, I'm ahead of the game when it comes to where the Philadelphia 76ers are right now. Because essentially what they had to rely on in these playoffs is that Seth Curry and Joel Embiid were their big two. Now, no offense to Seth Curry, but I should be able to find someone who's going to do a bit better than Seth Curry is capable of doing, simply because of the lack of size and athleticism that he has. And maybe this pushes Tobias Harris to live up to his contract in a way that he hasn't before.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Tobias stepped up in the playoffs.
First of all, I don't mean to diminish or say anything negative about C.J. McCollum, who everybody loves in the media. He's a really nice player. Rick, the guy's maybe, a one-time All-Star. He doesn't play a ton of defense. He's a really good offensive player. But on those 20 games when Joel Embiid is out...
Ben Simmons is a three-time All-Star.
Right.
So what?
Ben Simmons is an all-NBA player, first-team all-defense. Tell me, can C.J. McCollum carry this team when the 20 games that Embiid is out? Can they get to 500 with C.J. McCollum?
I don't care about the regular season. I don't care about the regular season.
You don't care about getting a high seed in the playoffs?
I will finish... We just had the Bucks finish third in the East. Who ended up winning?
Well, the Bucks got a little lucky due to injuries. But I'm just telling you, C.J. McCollum is absolutely not going to do it. If I'm the Sixers, I'm not doing that deal. I'd rather keep Ben Simmons. All right, we got to move on. I'm getting yelled at. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay. Boy, this passion. The passion in this topic, folks. We'll tell you how much of an impact his summer actually had next on Speak for Yourself. Let's head back to Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers said a lot of things earlier this week, including details about what he told the Packers this offseason, saying, quote, I just expressed my desire to be more involved in conversations that directly affected my job. That's pretty reasonable. GM Brian Gutekunst addressed that thing, quote, there's not relinquishing of decisions or control. It's literally just finding a way to incorporate Aaron's thoughts and explaining to him why we're doing what we're doing. That's a big part of the things that he's got some grievances on. Boy, Gutekunst sounds rude. LeVar Arrington.
Playing itself, though.
So good.
How much impact did Aaron Rodgers' summer in Green Bay have?
A historical impact.
Yes.
It's historical. Yes, you can put your hand up and you can hear it. I wrote down in my notes.
Did you say hysterical or historical?
Hysterical
Well
for
played.
you.
Well played,
historical for those that, in my notes, the people that are able to comprehend what he is doing are going to understand that this is a historical moment in the National Football League. This is a situation where a football player is actually flexing like a basketball player. They are making concessions for a football player the way they do it in basketball. And as this plays out, and when this finishes and it finally ends, and we have a conclusion to what took place, because the detonation took place just now. This week, the detonation of how things will be handled going into the future took place. Now, we saw flirting with it with Tom Brady in New England. There was flirting of it. We saw it take place a little bit in Seattle with Russ doing it. It was flirting with it, right? Aaron Rodgers went all the way in. We have never seen someone do what Aaron Rodgers is doing right now and still be in a situation where there is no interruption whatsoever to his playing time. Like, imagine this. If this is any other player in the league outside of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, this guy not only gets benched, he's probably cut for much less than what Aaron Rodgers is doing right now. He is showing other people. It's like that whole adage where if you don't knock the head off of the person that sticks that head out, then a little bit more of their body's going to come out. Then a little bit more of their body's going to come out. And before you know it, they're fully out, and there's no fear. Aaron Rodgers is taking away the fear that has always existed between player and front office. And he's doing it in such a masterful way that if you're paying attention, there is a blueprint being built to how you go about approaching what you want to get done and how you want to get it done. And to me, looking at this, the impact is historical in the end when this all plays out and Aaron Rodgers seemingly seeing the results that he was looking for. Two, yes, I'm saying it boldly right now, stay in Green Bay and finish out his career as a Green Bay Packer, other than all these other speculations saying that he's getting ran out of town. Impact is tremendous, historical. Yeah.
It is, the impact is tremendous. It was tremendous on Aaron Rodgers' contract, where he lost a year of actually lost 2 years of guaranteed money, because while he's still under the control of the Green Bay Packers next season, none of that money is guaranteed. So they can release him without it costing them anything other than the dead cap money from the signing bonus.
That's strategic.
Or they can trade him if they so choose. He didn't get any more control over where he's going to go or how long he's going to play. He only gave away how much he's going to make.
So
and
redundant.
I didn't know a whole lot about Brian Gutekunst before all of this happened.
and
now I realize what a kind man, what a kind, gentle man he is. Because, yes, Aaron Rodgers eviscerated the Green Bay Packers and Gutekunst in his press conference. And Gutekunst could have done the same. But instead, he took the easier, softer path. Can I have the full screen back of what Gutekunst actually said? There's no relinquishing of decisions or control. It's literally just finding a way to incorporate Aaron's thoughts and explaining to him why we're doing what we're doing, okay? So he could have been much worse. He could have said, yeah, those guys that Aaron wanted us to keep, Jake Kumaro, the guy we cut, he went to the Buffalo Bills and he played 2 games and he had 1 reception for 22 yards. Jordy Nelson, the guy that you wanted us to keep, he went to the Raiders and he played 15 games and he had 3 touchdowns. What is it exactly that we're supposed to incorporate, Aaron Rodgers, that you know so much about personnel that's going to make us appreciably better than what we've been? Do tell. We can't wait to hear. But in the meantime, we're going to keep on keeping on doing what we're doing. So thanks, Aaron. We'll let you know whether we need your services next year. We're glad you showed up this year, because we weren't quite ready to turn the page.
Keep doing what we're doing. I like that, Rick. That dovetails beautifully into... I've been reading a lot of philosophy out here in L.A. You know, I'm getting weird now, living in L.A. for about 5 years. The things that got you here won't get you where you're going. For about 25 years, Rick, the Green Bay Packers have been doing the same damn thing. We're going to build through the draft. We're a little small mom-and-pop shop in Green Bay. We're not doing that free agency thing. And that's worked great when you've had Brett Favre and you've had Aaron Rodgers. You lucked into back-to-back Hall of Famers, top 10 quarterbacks all time. Well, where are you going? You're going into Aaron Rodgers turning 38 years old. And is this going to work if Jordan Love is not your next Hall of Famer? Well, good luck with that, Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers just told you this week, hey, man, you guys have to change the way you're doing things. That's not going to continue to work. Guys like me are not going to stand for it. Devontae Adams ain't going to stand for it. You've got some troubled waters ahead, Green Bay. And if you don't wake the hell up and listen to what your Hall of Fame franchise quarterback is saying, I would say he's the best player in franchise history. I'm sure some would debate it. But if you don't listen closely to what he's saying and you don't change the culture here in Green Bay, we're going to have some problems. Aaron Rodgers tried to give him a heads up. I know Rick wants to play the short game, and well, maybe this year we'll get to the Super Bowl. Okay, Aaron Rodgers has laid it out well for Green Bay. Really smart stuff from Rodgers if you listen. I'm a little worried about the Packers' future.
If your logic is accurate, Rick, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be a Green Bay Packer this year. Coming up, Zach Wilson is signed and ready to go in to the Big Apple. We'll tell you if the rookie can turn the Jets into a winner. Next on Speak for Yourself.
Jets.
Zach Wilson put pen to paper and is officially a New York Jet. Wilson was the last first-round pick to sign, and now he's expected to resurrect a Jets team that has not been to the playoffs since the 2010 season. And I'm going to start with our Jets fan. So, Jason, can Zach Wilson... I couldn't do it.
Why do you have to laugh?
He couldn't even get it out.
Oh, geez, that is...
Can Zach Wilson turn the Jets into a winner?
Well, first of all, Rick, stop laughing. And second of all, listen, it can't get worse, can it? I mean, they've got the longest playoff drought in the league.
Yeah, of course it can.
And here's the worst part. Here's the worst part. The second longest is half of the Jets. 10 years for the Jets, 5 for the Arizona Cardinals. It's been bleak. A couple issues, and I'm not going to go long. I could do an hour on the Jets here by myself because I'm probably the only Jets fan that matters in this country. I'm deep into the Jets. Folks, it's ugly. We have not, I could say we, right, Lamar?
It's funny.
We have not had a franchise quarterback since before anybody on this show was born Joe Namath. None of us were born. I don't think Rick was born. I'm not counting Kenny O'Brien or Chad Pennington or Mark Sanchez, my main man Sanchez. Listen, it's been bleak, but I think they finally have it. They got the right coach. He's going to build a good culture. They got a good winning quarterback from BYU who's not apparently going into New York City to meet the ladies like Sam Darnold and Mark Sanchez were. You know, Zach Wilson, nice kid. He looks like a young Hollywood guy who's going to be on like the Nickelodeon TV shows, right? Went to BYU. Listen, I think the Jets are probably a 5 or 6 win team this year, and they've got the cap room to build next year. I'm on a 2-year plan to the playoffs. I'll say this with confidence. I can tell you 100% the Jets will be in the playoffs again before the New England Patriots are back in the postseason.
Oh, wow. Oh. Yeah, I think Zach Wilson can change the fortunes of this Jets franchise, but not alone. So I'll say it with a caveat. By himself, as I mentioned before, not even Tom Brady turned around the fortunes of New England by himself. So it's not fair to expect Zach Wilson to be some type of savior that magically parts the Red Sea and walks the New York Jets team and its faithful across to the other side. It's going to be a little bit more of a process. And I think if he's able to have that time to go through the process of growing, if Saleh is able to implement what he's doing, he brought in a very competent OC and LaFleur. They will bring that Shanahan old school but new school wrinkles of that zone read offense where you know, the linemen are moving the defense around. It moves the pocket. It gives Zach the ability to read on the move. It also is a very difficult offense to defense against the run. That will take some of the pressure off of Zach Wilson to have to be delivering week in and week out through the air. If they're able to do that, we expect that, at least I expect as a former defensive player in the league, that the defense will come to life this year based upon what we've seen Saleh do in San Francisco. So I think given time in an unforgiving market, I do believe that Zach Wilson has the ability to be the quarterback that is a part of this culture change and this turnaround of fortunes for the franchise, Rick.
You guys may not know this about me, but I am an optimist. And despite being a long-suffering Bengals fan, hope springs eternal that something is going to change. I live in the Bay Area. I saw the Warriors, covered them for a period of time where they were absolutely miserable, and I saw that turn. So I know that it's possible. But to answer your question, no, because they're not even off to the right start when it comes to Zach Wilson and the Jets. They couldn't even get him into camp on time. And I blame both sides because of that. It wasn't a matter of money. It was a matter of language. Zach Wilson was more worried about the offset language, which means that if he were cut or released by the Jets and would go to play for somebody else, instead of whatever he'd get paid by the other team being subtracted from what the Jets owed him, that no, I get paid by the other team and I get my Jets salary. That is a really silly point to stand on when you're coming in and you're supposed to be the savior of a franchise that has struggled as long as the Jets have. If you're a first-time quarterback and expected to lead the charge right out of the gate, you need to be there day one, and you need to demonstrate that I'm not worried about what my contract says as much as what I'm able to do for turning this franchise.
Come on, that's the agent.
So bad for so long. I don't care if you're Zach Wilson. You say get it done. Like get me in there. And the Jets are on the same page. Like whatever the language, like whatever you settled
get an extra
on.
$5 to $1 million out of
I'm an optimist, but let me break down the contract and tear it to shreds for you. Come on, Rick. Be positive. Rick, how about this? I'll give you this.
Just have the two sides agree that they're in a bad place and they've been in a bad place, and we need to work together to get there. We need to work together from day one. Let's not start having the negotiation of a contract make our guy, who we have to rely on. They've got Trey Lance. They found a way to get it done in order for Trey Lance to be there for day one, and he's not even going to start the season. So what are we doing, New York Jets?
Here's what we're doing.
Be different. They went through the same thing with Sam Darnold. Yeah. Like, if you want to be different, then
ownership stinks. We get it. Okay, Rick, I'm just going to remind everybody, there is no greater nickname in the NFL than Zach Wilson's nickname. He is officially the Mormon Mahomes because he throws it just like Patrick Mahomes. There's no pressure on the young kid. He's coming out of BYU to New York City, and he's called the Mormon Mahomes. Coming up next, LeBron's obviously happy to have Russell Westbrook in L.A., but we'll tell you if Russ or AD, oh my gosh, is the second best star on the team. That's next.
I've never been that worked up about the Jets.
L.A. is the land of the stars, and the Lakers added another one in Russell Westbrook. According to reports, LeBron is obviously the face of the franchise, but now Russ is joining him and Anthony Davis to form their own big three. So Rick Bucher, this feels like a layup. Who is the second biggest star on the Lakers?
Yeah, it's not close. By any metric, it is Russell Westbrook. There's only one of those two between Anthony Davis and Westbrook who has been MVP of the All-Star game twice. There's only one of them who has been a league MVP. There's only one of them who has 17 million followers on Instagram versus 7 million, 10 million more followers on Instagram than Anthony Davis. I don't care how you measure it, whether it's on the court or off the court, it's Russell Westbrook.
You know, I know it pains you to have to say that when you know I was going to say Russell Westbrook as well. And for all the reasons that you said, but you know what? One thing about Russ, he has invented a transcending, I should say, following. He's big into fashion. And if you're in a part of the culture and you understand how these things work, he has hit us with so many different variations of how he enters into the arena. And from a global perspective, Russ entertains the masses with his fashion sense. At one point, there's a major company out here, I won't give it any light on camera, but there was a point in time where he had his own line connected, may still have his line connected to a major brand. So, of course, it's Russell.
No, it's Anthony Davis, okay? Anthony Davis was in Space Jam 2. Tentpole movie of the summer or Instagram followers. Rick Bucher, you deserve to be knocked down
and
for
teammates
this Instagram
with LeBron
follower
James.
nonsense. First of all, I looked it up. Tom Brady has 9 million followers on Instagram. So does that mean like Russell Westbrook's a bigger star than Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Use the mom test. Ask your mom, call her up, ask your mom, ask your dad, do you know who Russell Westbrook is? Or do you know who Anthony Davis is? That's easy. It's AD, the brow, the man who won a title with LeBron in the bubble.
The brow is recognizable. It is. So he wins by a brow.
Why not?
You go. Hey, that's it for us, guys. This was pretty incredible. A lot of fun, a lot of agreement.
The Brody.
Everybody have a phenomenal weekend. The guys are back next week. Stay safe. Go Jets.
Wear your mask.